Okay, this is just a quick video to show you a bit how to triangulate sources using sort of a deductive research method. So one of the first things that we're going to do here is start at Google. And one of the things that, imagine a writing situation, and I'm going to argue that World of Warcraft is the greatest game ever. And first thing we're going to do is we might search here at Google what makes people happy. So first thing that comes up is a USA Today article. Now, see, USA Today is a newspaper, not necessarily most academic source, but it is credible and reliable. So psychologists now know what makes people happy. So I'm just going to screen through this article, read a bit about it, and found a paragraph here. It mentions this research in this book. So let me look for this book in the library. So what we're going to do is copy it, open up a new tab, go to the library website at DU, and what we're going to do is do a search, title search for the book, Authentic Happiness. Okay, the options come up, and lo and behold, the library doesn't have Authentic Happiness. But over here on here is Prospector, and Prospector works by allowing you to search all the sort of local libraries, and you can get the book requested. So let's click on this book and see if we can request the book. So there's a lot of copies to request, so we can go over here and click on it, request this item. However, I noticed something as I'm looking at this book, and that is that it's a Free Press, New York. It doesn't look like an academic publisher. So one of the things I might do is go over to Amazon, also using the web. So let's go to Amazon and put in the book and see if we can get any more information about this book. So wait for Amazon here. So on the Amazon page has the author and all the information. Scroll on down, maybe read the editorial reviews. So I'm going to read this. On one hand, it's saying it's using research, and on the other hand, it's telling you how to be happy. And a lot of the academic approaches aren't going to tell you how to be happy. They're just going to present research. So it's sort of a mixed bag, and I'm not sure that this book's going to be all that useful for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down this. I'm going to shut down Prospector as well, because maybe the book itself is not useful. So let's actually look at the author, because the author might have done other research on happiness. So what I'm going to do is open up a new tab and go back to Google and search for the author. There, second one, you'll notice that it has a edu web address. It's probably this person's web site. So Martin Seligman found his website online, so I'm going to scroll through this, see if I can find any books. Well, there's his Authentic Happiness, but nothing else looks useful. But academics have what's called a curriculum vitae, which is just sort of their CV. It's their resume. So let me see what's on his CV. Let me scroll down here. Scientific and scholarly publications. That's nice. So we have them all by date. Remember, newest date's the best. So let's scroll down here. Don't see anything about happiness just yet. There we go. I notice title Orientations to Happiness and Life Satisfaction. So this might be useful for my article on World of Warcraft. So let's go back to the library website, and this time we're going to do a periodical search for the journal that was cited, which is the Journal of Happiness Studies. And lo and behold, the library has access to it. So we're going to use Springer Link. Click on that, go to the journal website through the library. Notice on the left it said that I had access to it. So I'm going to go back to the Seligman, and I need a specific issue and volume number. So I got that from the CV, found it, 6.1, March 2005. Let's click on that. Waiting for it to load. Okay, comes up with our table of contents. As I recall, it's on page 25. So we're going to load up the PDF in a new tab, just so I can keep track of it. PDF's the best way to go as opposed to the web. So here's this PDF that comes up. Let me move that over there. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is notice that there's 3 authors of this article. And sort of scan the abstract. Now, the abstract is just sort of a summary of what the study was about and what its findings were. So this is a really quick way to do your research. It's how a lot of people do their initial research. So we're going to read this abstract. And I noticed that people are happy and have life satisfaction through pleasure, engagement, and meaning. Well, I'll say that World of Warcraft brings me pleasure, but what about that idea of engagement? So let's check up, let's see if we can find engagement in the rest of the article, because we really need to know how they're defining engagement. Seems like a term that can have multiple meanings. So let's go over our first instance of engagement, and here it is. And we even have a definition of it. Time passes quickly, attention is focused on the activity, the sense of self is lost, the aftermath of the flow experience is invigorating. So, in other words, what I found here is something that's going to be useful, not only this definition of engagement, but it seems like it applies to my World of Warcraft. So this is sort of the introduction. It's kind of giving me the background of the article. Let me scroll down and see if I can find. Okay, so I'm scrolling down here. I go past the method, which is telling me how they did their study. Get information about the participants, sort of how they're defining all their questions. Here we go. We have the results. Now, this is really going to have all the results that I need. So I'm going to read through this, looking at how these sort of three measures apply. Now, what we're looking here is intercorrelations, and you don't have to be really into statistics to understand sort of this. It's looking at a relationship between two variables. So the higher the number, or basically the closer to 1 the number is the greater the relationship. So we'll notice that as far as meaning, pleasure and engagement are connected to meaning. So is life satisfaction is connected to engagement. So really this data is supporting the fact that finding engaging and pleasurable activities are going to benefit me. So why don't we go back to Google and see if we can find engagement in World of Warcraft. Oh no, see, once again, this engagement as applied to World of Warcraft, not so useful to me. It's looking at rules of engagement, looking at sort of gameplay, kind of not what I'm looking for, kind of looking for something different. So I'm going to use a different search term. World of Warcraft is part of an MMORG, so we're going to click that in, engagement in that, see if we find any research. Ah, look at there, first article up. It's a blog. Not sure how useful this blog is, but let's scan through it. Okay, so it's really arguing that the quest system and sort of self-directed creativity within the game allows a lot of engagement, so you really become part of the game. So, I mean, it's supportive, but it's not necessarily academic. It's just a blog entry. I don't know who this Mark Wagner is, so why don't we just do a search for Mark Wagner, see what other work he's done, see if it's going to be useful for me. So I've gone to Google, done a search for Mark Wagner, and MMORPGs, just because there could be a lot of them. Well, first article comes up is, the one we were just looking at. A lot of educational articles and using it, but nothing that looks really academic. It's most of these blogs. So I don't know if any of this is useful. Apparently this is Mark Wagner's blog. I'm going to look at this. Reading more. Yeah, so this blog might provide some background information, but it's not the type of source I'm looking for. It doesn't have any references. It's not really that useful for me, and I'm not going to be able to find exactly what I need. So Mark Wagner seems a bust. So what we're going to do now, let's go back to our starting. Scroll down some more, read. Oh, that's an interesting. I noticed that immersion and engagement are using. So I want to write a note to myself that we're going to look at some immersion things here. So we have immersion and engagement. That might be synonymous. Let's see what we come up with. Here's another blog. Blogs can be useful, can not be useful, so let's read through it. World of Warcraft is specifically mentioned, which is nice for us. So I'm reading through this. I run into the Daedalus project, something that I'm familiar with from other research that I've done. So Nikki used Daedalus project, and so this chart looks familiar. So this blog is really just ripping off, plagiarizing this chart. Well, it's not really plagiarizing it because look, it cited it and everything, did it right. So what I need to do though is look for the primary source. Remember that primary source is really what you're looking for. So even though there's that blog, I'm going to go right to the primary source, and here it is with the actual study. You'll notice this is Nikki Yee's actual study, has all his numbers, all his statistics, has the actual questions, the breakdown. This is a source that I need. So I'm going to hold on to this source. This is great because it's really comparing gameplay to TV watching. And I like those numbers there. We're gonna keep track of those numbers. One of the things that I noticed that I can't necessarily see Nikki Yee's name unless it's at the very top. So it's kind of hard to find on this website. So if you're not familiar with it, it might be difficult. So anytime you go to a website and you're unsure about it, it's good to find the person's name. So let's go back here. So we're going to shut all this other stuff down and go back to Google. So we have immersion, we have some other things. Another article about engagement that I found. So this one is a nice blog entry, but it keeps citing this Joshua Smith. So let's read through this. Looks interesting. Found apparently MMORPG players play the highest at 14 hours per week. Seems really interesting. It goes with Nikki Yee's study. It's sort of corroborating evidence that we have both Nikki Yee and this guy. And I'll look at, lo and behold, there's references. So we can actually go to the primary source based on this entry. So let's go back to the library. Once again, a periodical title, and you'll notice that Cyber Psychology and Behavior is the name of the periodical that the appeared in. So let's go to Academic Search Premier, which can be very slow, especially during busy times of the year. So just keep that in mind. So 2007, well, we got to go back here to see exactly when. So it's Volume 10, Issue 5. So Volume 10, Issue 5, we'll click on that. Wait for it to load. Okay, and here's the article that we're looking for. Let's open this in a new tab. There's Joshua Smith's article on MMORPGs. So we can get all the information from the top. Once again, we're going to read the abstract really fast, see if it's useful to us. It's going to be useful to us. That idea of engagement and immersion and its time, it sucks you in, and it goes back to that definition of engagement we got earlier. So that's really going to be useful for us. So why don't we scroll down here? So we'll scroll down here and go to the results and discussion section, and we'll notice that it's got this nice table. We'll read through this. Okay, so apparently MMORPGs, though, are saying that interfere with schoolwork. You don't make as many friends in real life. Your sleep and eating habits are affected. So in some ways it's kind of a negative thing, but one of the things that I'm really doing in this argument that I want to make is talk about the positive. So I might use some of this stuff for a later counter-argument possibility, but for right now, this looks good. So let's scroll down back to our table. So there it is, MMORPGs. We'll notice that hours played last week are greater than the other games that the study looked at, despite my overall health and sleep quality not being as great as the other game players. One of the things that I'll notice is that game enjoyed is high, and that's a good indication of engagement and meaning and pleasure. So I like that. I like that number. Some ideas. So basically, research is showing that MMORPGs, of which World of Warcraft is one, are engaging, they're immersive, they're fun, and thus I'm going to make the connection that it's tied to my enjoyment of it. So we're going to do a search for immersion in MMORPGs, see if we can find anything. We didn't really find anything, so let's try immersion in video games, because once again, keep going bigger and bigger with your search terms. Remember, start small, go bigger and bigger. Scroll through here. Ooh, a master's thesis. So let's scroll through here. Gama Sutra, it's sort of another blog, but they also have academic research here, sort of a clearinghouse more than they actually publish it. So they just really store of it. So let's see if we can find the primary source, and we'll click on the link, and there it is. It's Lori Ann Taylor. You may know her as L.N. Taylor, who's now a game researcher. So here's her master's thesis. So let's look under immersion. So we're going to go to the table of contents, click on immersion, and sort of read through here. Immersion is often taken to be a singular event where the player becomes engrossed in a video game just as the reader would become engrossed in a novel or a viewer in a film. So that seems like a really good definition. She's sort of separating. She's kind of formulating a system for different types of immersion. Maybe a little too complex for my purposes at the current state, but just so you see, she is formulating this new sort of complex theoretical system for how she's going to define immersion. But I really just want her basic definition. So in the end, what we've done, we've got a number of really good sources here that we can use to sort of triangulate a position. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring up really sort of what a final product would be with all that research that I've just sort of collected.